Good morning, X Winterview, back again with another brief dialogue for his dear friend Annastacey. As usual, driving in the Das Auto on my way to the beach, I hope. Apparently there's some pretty good waves today, pretty epic waves, and you know me, I'm all about epic. So, this brief dialogue is something a little different. This is a dialogue for someone who posted a comment. Name is Michael. I'm going to read Michael's comment, and then I'm going to attempt to enlighten Michael with magical powers that I have secretly. Just kidding. Sorry, Michael. Anyway, Michael writes, and I quote, "This is great stuff. I feel that you are really trying to tell me how it is. And yet, I find that ultimately, your attempt to show me why I should stop seeking perpetuates my seeking." Good point, Michael. After all, you seem to be a person in the world with a future, brackets, with a wave you will get or not get. Close brackets, thank you, Michael. And a person that understands which model is the right one. So it seems that at the very least, sometime in the future, I should be able to understand what you understand. You have an understanding that I do not. You too have awakeness, with body hanging off, and yet out of your mouth come sincere ideas that space and time are illusions. So ignoring the word enlightenment, the question is, how do I get a mind that also sincerely understands what you understand? End question. End comment. Thank you, Michael. Good question. Quite a meaty question. I don't even know if I can remember all the points that you made. Had to pull over, by the way, to actually read that off my smartphone, or as I call it, my smarter than me phone. How will I get a mind, Michael wonders, like my mind, the mind of X Winterview? There's so many ways to approach this question, Michael. I'll try a few metaphors, stories, parables. That's what I'll do. Parables. Or homilies. Maybe a homily. No, parable. No, metaphor. Going back to metaphor. So, here's the thing. First and foremost, you make an excellent point that these dialogues, my dialogues, indeed will perpetuate seeking. I heartily endorse that. I agree. It seems that it's unavoidable, in a way, that if I suggest there's nothing you can do, is taken by the mind as, right, I have to do nothing, something like that. If I say there is no one, the mind will say something like, I have to realize there is no one. And I haven't even gone into technique or process. Like if I was to even go down that road, like meditate, or vegetarian, or whatever, if I even suggested a hint of a technique, or a process, or a method, etc., you know what your mind would do? It would pounce on it. Yes, this is what I got to do. Even to sit in silence, the mind would, well, you know what it would do. It would immediately think, I got to sit in silence. Silence is the thing, and not silence is not the thing. So, Yeah, it's a good point. It's an excellent point, and I heartily endorse it. That dialogues, no matter how incredibly wise and full of truth, like mine, brackets, close brackets, are, they will perpetuate seeking, inevitably. Or you could take the perspective that they don't perpetuate seeking because they have no causal power to do or not do anything, and that the seeking will happen out of nothingness, as it would anyway, you might say. That's another way to go, but that doesn't give the mind any way to go with that line. It's literally saying anything is going to happen, don't worry about it, which I could say, but of course the mind would go, alright, anything's going to happen and I'm not going to worry about it. That's what I'm going to do now. So you can see that inevitably you end up with a sort of subtle process, a subtle idea of what you need to do no matter what. The purpose, you might say, now this is getting into very sticky territory when I say the purpose. Very sticky. The apparent purpose, you could say. See, a little caveat there, getting out of jail card. The apparent purpose of these dialogues. For some minds, the confusion is awful. It feels awful, palpably awful. Like a stormy ocean of thought and feeling. I guess that I would suggest that these dialogues appear to, or in essence hope to, smooth out a few of the rough edges of thought and conceptualizing. That might not work. It might lead to more questions or more rockiness, but a little smoothing of the edges of thought, you could say. Whether they are doing anything on a different level, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one. It's a philosophical question, best left for the philosophers or the philosophical minds, which I sometimes get myself after a few coffees. Anyway, so let's have another metaphor. Imagine that you're on a street. I think I've used this metaphor before, so apologies if I'm just endlessly repeating myself. Right. You're walking along a street, and the street is very well signposted, point with arrows. City, let's give it a name. Let's give this fictional city a name. The city is called Winterview. Use my surname for self-aggrandizement. The city of Winterview is ahead. There might actually be a city called Winterview. I don't know that. So, you're walking along a road with signs pointing to this city called Winterview, which you assume, you cannot see it, you assume it's in the distance. And after about 2 hours, the signs flip around the other way, as in they're pointing back the way you came. And you're like, WTF? People who post signs that flip around, and realize that you must have walked past it. So you head back the other way, and the same thing obviously happens again. The signs just flip around. And you realize, duh, you're already in the city of Winterview. You just didn't know it. Now that's an okay metaphor, suggesting that whatever is apparently happening, whatever apparently is going on, doesn't matter. You know, you're already there. Okay, not my favorite metaphor. It's okay. Let's mix it up. Let's keep it real with the metaphor. This is another way to look at it. You're walking along, heart set on finding your way to this mystical, magical city called Winterview. The signs are there, pointing This way, this way, this way. So this is a metaphor for enlightenment, liberation, with the city of Winterview representing said enlightenment, said liberation. So you're walking, and suddenly there's liberation. I don't know how. This part of the story gets a little bit fuzzy, you might notice. Suddenly there's liberation. What's going on? What happened? Okay, so suddenly there's liberation. We'll just roll with it. And it's realized that all there is the sign. That's it. That's all there is. Pointing ahead. That's what there is. And the road beneath your feet. That's all there is. And it's seen instantly that the arrow on the sign is meaningless. It's just, it looks like it's instrumental, like it is pointing you somewhere, like there's some causal, you might say, agency within the sign, some wisdom within the sign. But suddenly it's seen that there isn't. The sign is empty of all attributes. Empty of everything. It's just a sign. And you're like, that's it. That's all there is the sign. Okay, that's the end of that second metaphor. I've got lots of metaphors. I can just keep rolling these out. Let's go with another one. A similar principle. Similar metaphor. You're walking along the road to the mystical, magical city of Winterview, which is symbolic of liberation, this place that I will get to, and I am on my way there. Right? And suddenly there's liberation. Oh, this is an annoying part of the metaphor, hey, because it's like suddenly? What do you mean there's suddenly? Were you meditating while you were walking? Were you vegetarianing it up? Like eating a bit of celery as you walked and meditating same time? Were you opening your chakras? No. Okay, so apologies for the metaphor falling down totally there, but anyway, the liberation is there. And it's seen that the sign is empty, doesn't mean anything, it's not pointing anywhere. There is no city presently happening in any way. So this is all there is. This is it. And here's the second part. Here's the kicker. The body, which was doing the walking, seemingly, is also, like the sign, also seen as empty. Empty of a person. There's no person in there. There's no causal energy / magical power in this body. Ditto everything that you can see around you. It's all empty. It's totally empty. It's an appearance. It's a dream. It's like you wake up and realize that you're having a dream, and you're in the dream now. Well, not you, but this body is still walking along the road on its way to this city called Winterview. Now, this is the weird, paradoxical thing, if you weren't already weirded and paradoxicaled, is that it could still keep walking along the road looking for the city called Winterview. Why could it do that? Question mark. Because the body, as I've said numerous times, and I'm sure other speakers on this subject would echo this, is not you. You are not this body. Forget the whole idea of what you really are. That's a big mystery philosophical thing. But just go with this. You're not that body. That body is just part of the dream that's happening. It's just like walking. It's like a cloud passing in the sky. You don't sit around wondering, where's the cloud? Where does it come from? What's it doing now? Where's it going? That's... No one cares about clouds, really, except hippies, right? So this body is like, it's just walking along the road looking at these signs on the way to the city called Winterview, and it thinks it's going there. Isn't that interesting? It might keep going. Or the mind might sort of go, oh, well, this is ridiculous. What's the point of going to interview? I'm going to stop. You know, it doesn't... The story just all sort of falls apart there. It's like, well, it might and it might not. I don't know. You know, I don't know. It's not important anymore when you realize it's a dream. You sort of lose interest, you could say. Or an interest is lost, to use Enlightenment speak. Interest was lost by no one, you might say. And so, back to Michael's comment, we'll call it. When will I, or will this perpetuate seeking? Yes, probably. If it gives you a negative, as in don't do anything, you'll use that as your seeking. And if it gives you a positive, you'll probably use that as your seeking. Why will you use it as your seeking? Because that is a behavior of the mind. The mind does that. That's natural mind behavior. Does that make sense? It's just what the mind does. It takes on anything as a process. I could go into greater depth about why the mind does that, and just to flag why the mind doesn't. And this is my model. Because the mind has a reference point of personness as the central referent. So it's impossible for the mind not to frame everything it sees in the world as me here, world over there, which if you think about it, knocks on into all the other things like time, space, purpose, meaning, just keeps, it rolls it all on. With that point of reference. Once that point's locked in, everything else is natural from that. I don't want to say mistake, because it makes it seem like the mind is a bit daft. Which is an unfair comment to make. Right? About the mind. Oh my gosh, peeps, the surf is epic. Sorry, Michael. Gotta finish off this comment. The waves look so good. Oh my god. Okay. So, I forgot where I was. The waves just totally captured my attention there. Right. Michael was wondering, furthermore, when will I get it? Let me just remind myself. Hold on. Going back here. Sorry, this is probably riveting listening. This is the audio of Winterview reading an email to himself. After all, I seem to be a person... Yes, absolutely. I seem to be a person in the world. That's spot on, really. That's what it seems to be like, and understands the model. Yes, you could say that there is an understanding here. There's some kind of understanding. It's arbitrary, though. This understanding is based on lots of things. My training as a psychologist, my history, my whatever. It doesn't really matter how it's framed to oneself. I think the core point I wanted to make is that central to the mind's confusion is the idea of personhood, or that there's a person who has some kind of agency. Now, being very cautious with the idea that that's a confusion, because it can sound quite negative. Let's just say that that's what the mind does when it believes there's a person. It seeks something else, it seeks something better, and so on and so forth. That's just what it does. So you can kind of, in one sense, go, okay, and kind of stop worrying about it. See, there I just gave you a process to do. I'm going to stop worrying about my mind. Okay, so that's just an explanation of why the mind seeks endlessly. And I gave you a few metaphors about how ultimately it's a dream. It's just happening as it happens, and it's empty. And annoyingly, there's no control over that dream. How could one who has no existence or agency control anything? And so it's annoying, isn't it? But it'll happen. It'll just roll on the way it does. There could be more seeking, less seeking, heartache, heartbreak. There could be... Oh my gosh, there's dolphins. This is epic. Sorry, Michael. All sorts of stuff could roll on. Don't know why. There's no why. It's like trying to explain a dream. Why does my dream happen the way it does? I've given you one sort of idea about why it happens like that, because the mind, naturally thinking there's a reference point, will imagine from that point of reference. Okay, I think I'm waffling now. Anyway, Michael, I hope this gave you a little bit of something to chew on, maybe smoothed out the edges of thought a little bit and conceptualizing. I just have to go surfing. Anyway, if you have any further questions, please feel free to post a comment. Thanks again.